Mark mentioned Max Cleland and all the fact that they pulled the exit polls in 2002 and, just took a few whiffs of what was going on there and said, uh-oh, here it comes. And boy, has it come. And Mark said, he wanted to stand because he gets worked up, and frankly, I'm probably about 3 or 4 years beyond getting worked up. I'm almost catatonic about this, because you can only look in the face of a raging lie so long and not just dive for shelter. And America now looks like a certain thing, and I'm sure most of us in this room, if not all of us, don't like what it looks like, scratching our heads at how this can be happening. And in reality, it's something different. It may not be something perfect, it may not be something even all that great, but it sure as hell isn't the pile of political shit that we see before us every day. And the reason that it is that is that elections, one of the reasons that it is that, there are structural issues, but it wouldn't be that but for the fact that elections are being stolen systemically and rampantly. Now the problem is, when we bring forth the evidence and make that argument, and there's plenty of forensic evidence, and we can, direct you to the Election Defense Alliance website has tons of it. Mark's book has tons of it. Steve's book has tons of it. I mean, we're not talking about a flash in the pan here. We're talking about election after election after election in state after state after state after state. Consistent patterns in one direction. Not glitches, not random, not chance. One direction. Not coincidentally in the direction that the machines are owned and managed by, towards that same direction. And this is the way the big lie works. Because you just look at it and you say, nah, couldn't be. It's too big. And when we bring up election theft, the realities, the forensic evidence of election theft, to people, whether it's Michael Moore or Rachel Maddow, the higher up they are in the hierarchy, the more they have at stake in the existing power structure, the more they shut down. Absolutely shut down, because you're asking them to believe that the power structure that they have a very nice place in, very nice seat, if it's John Kerry, if it's Al Gore, whoever it is, if it's Bill Moyers even, is corrupt, is a fraud, is illegitimate, that the government is illegitimate, that the people in the government, many of them, are illegitimately seated. That appears to be asking too much. And it appears to be asking too much even of people on the left who are looking at this situation with great dismay. So we're in a bit of a quandary, because we actually, I think, do better when we don't present evidence, when we don't ask people to believe that George Bush stole the election, or it was stolen on his behalf, or Scott Walker, or Scott Brown in Massachusetts, or John Kasich in Ohio. And we could go on and name hundreds. The whole, pretty much, the whole Tea Party movement in competitive places have gotten this little 10% boost, which in this country is enough to put you over the top. So the way I've kind of reconstituted this is from the left's standpoint. If we're at the left forum, so we're probably left, unless you're doing oppositions research. Can you take the chance? Can anybody in this room, or who was in the plenary last night, or today, or who follows this with a rooting interest in the welfare of the people of this country, of the world, of the species of the world, including the trees and the plants and the fungus for that matter, can you take the chance that we might actually be right? If I gave you a gun and I said, put it to your head and pull the trigger, and I'll give you $100,000, what chance would you have to, what odds would you have to have that it wasn't loaded before you pulled that trigger? Pretty damn good odds, I would think. I mean, unless you were suicidal. So what is happening now with election theft in this country is political suicide for the left, because it's being run by the right, for the right, and not just for the right, but for the radical right. There is a program here to take over and roll back everything that basically has happened. And you can go into the psychology of the right, you can go into the psychology of the left. But it's really, from a partisan standpoint, terrifying. From a democracy standpoint, astounding. This is the beacon of democracy, after all. I mean, we'd expect this in the Ukraine, we'd expect this in Afghanistan. It would never happen here. And that is what enables it to prosper. The never happen here. And that's why there are only, I mean, and God bless all of you, 14 people in this room. I mean, if this session is not in the plenary, as a matter of fact, if we were assigned to a room that was almost impossible to find, which is, I think was coincidental, but you begin to wonder, because we've been to many conferences and we almost always wind up in a room that's impossible to find. There is something so very wrong with this picture.